Good afternoon, everyone. This will be my video lecture in CVN for Block A and Block B. Now, today is October 25, 2021. It's a Wednesday, it's a Monday, and for today we will be finishing off with the discussion on Unit 3 on deviance, social control, and sanctions. Actually, we already finished discussing about deviance, so we proceed now with the concept of what we call social control. Now, this is another concept which is social control. Now, here you will notice again the word social. And when we talk of social, of course, we are talking about society as a group. No? Society as a group. So here, control would mean, how do we control? Well, this will be in the form of certain preventive measures, or what we call deterrent, deterrent measures. Also, preventive or deterrent, so that deviance, deviance, we just talk about deviance, the concept of deviance, so that deviance will be prevented or will be deterred. No? It will not be happen, or it will be minimized as a violation. Now, here, when we talk of social control, the purpose or objective of social control, which is imposed by society in general, would be social order. No? So you could not divorce social control from what we call social order, because this is the objective of social control. Now, one manifestation or one mechanism which is exercised by this in social control is what we call sanctions. No? But we will take this up later on. No? Sanctions. I just would like to emphasize that one of the manifestations of social control would be this, sanctions. Okay? So I go back to this. The objective of, or the aim of social control is social order. You cannot divorce this concept from this concept because they are interrelated. Now, you may ask, what actually is social control? No? These are, anyone? What is social control? Well, these are actually the means, or methods, or the mechanisms to what? For what purpose? To mechanisms. This one is mechanisms, no? To bring about social order. And how do you bring that about? Well, to regulate the behavior of individuals in society, to regulate the behavior of individuals in society, and conform to social norms. Conform meaning susunod, and conform with social norms. No? So in short, do not violate social norms, otherwise you will be imposed certain sanctions. And sanctions are external or outward manifestations of social control. So I repeat, what is this social control? Well, they are the means, methods, or mechanisms to regulate the behavior of individuals in society so as to conform with social norms, so that the behavior of individuals will be in conformity with what we call social norms. Clear? Okay. May I erase this now? Now, there are two types of social control, or two classifications of social control. We have, one is the informal social control, and the other is what we call formal social control. Now, let us distinguish one from the other. When we talk of informal social control, where we are talking about, well, um, the influence of people, the influence of people who are closely associated with you, who are closely associated with the individual, closely associated with the individual. And who are these persons who are closely associated with the individual? Well, usually members of your family, your siblings, your relatives, and even your friends. No, that's why we call it informal social control, because they are the ones, no, siblings, we have here friends, we have here your parents, and even your colleagues, no, in the workplace if you are working. No? So these are the people, if you will notice, the parents, your siblings, your friends, your colleagues, and all other people who are close to you will bear, or will have an informal influence to you. Why is that? Well, because these are the people who mold, who help, in uh, developing your character. These are the people who give you pieces of advice so that your character character will be transformed into something that is desirable, something that is acceptable in society. They are the ones who tell you this is good behavior and that is bad behavior. This is your value, or these are your values, and forget about the other values. They are the ones who bear an influence, no matter how subtle. You understand the word subtle? Hindi obvious, hindi halata. No? No matter how subtle their influence may be, they are very influential in developing your character as an individual. No? So, if your parents would say, do not go to the party tonight, well, because they might foresee a danger to your attendance to such party, well, of course, that is a subtle influence to you as an individual. So, informal social control would come from people close to you. People close to you, and what? They give their influence in a subtle way. People close to you who give influence to your decisions. No, to your decisions. Because you will ask, if I will ask you now, who are the people who are close to you? Of course, you will say your parents, your siblings, your friends, etc., etc. Now, for formal social control, of course, these are entities, no? Say, for instance, government, organizations, schools, for instance, universities, or workplace, no, your workplace. They are the ones who would set the rules, no, or regulations for proper behavior in their respective uh, premises, like entities, like government, organizations, schools, in your workplace. No? So here, because the control of your behavior is formal, the rules are embodied in a formal document. So here, even if you violate the advice, or even if you violate the informal rules in your house, or in your, say for instance, in your house or in your relative's house, still, you may not get any, what we call sanction. The sanction may take in the form of disapproval of your behavior only. No? Disapproval of your behavior, or they may say they might be disgusted with what you do, but then again, no formal sanction is imposed to you. Unlike when you violate the rules or regulations in the government, in your organization, or in your school, definitely the rules are embodied in a written document, so they have to apply whatever sanctions there may be for the violation that you have committed. Okay, clear? May I proceed now with the concept of sanctions. Sanctions are actually penalties, no? Sanctions. These are outward what? Outward expressions, no? These are outward expressions of social control. No? Outward, meaning labas, outward expressions of social control. So in short, sanctions are actually part of enforcing, no, or implementing what we call social control. No? In short, how do you enforce social control? Well, by the imposition of sanctions. Okay? Now, there are different kinds of sanctions also. We have what we call the positive sanctions. Actually, I do not want to call this as sanctions. No? Positive, and the other one is negative sanctions. No? Actually, here for positive sanctions, I do not want to call them assumptions because these are actually rewards. No? You see that? They are actually rewards. Whereas here, for negative sanctions, these are actually punishments. No? Now, for positive sanctions, perhaps you could say promotion in your work, or you get a praise or a commendation from your boss. These are positive, what we call, I would rather say reinforcements, not sanctions. No? Positive reinforcements, not positive sanctions. Because a sanction is actually a penalty. Now, for negative sanctions, of course, you get, say, for instance, fine, even imprisonment would be a punishment, payment of fine, imprisonment, or say, for instance, sometimes you get hard labor, especially in communist countries, no, fine, imprisonment, what else? Incarceration or imprisonment, one and the same, or sometimes even disapproval by society in general. No? You get this disapproval of the actions or the violation or the deviance that you have committed. You also get this deviance that you have committed. Society will disapprove of your own action, or say, for instance, public opinion would say that what you did is wrong. Even public opinion, no? Public opinions, no, would say, well, what you did is a deviant behavior that should not be tolerated at all. So these are the two kinds. First kind would be positive, and then second is negative sanctions. Then next classification would be, of course, we've taken this earlier, formal and informal sanctions. Well, here the difference for these two, as I told you, for formal sanctions, there is a written document or documented. No, it's documented when we talk of formal sanctions. Here, there is no written document. None. No written document at all. So, which one do you think will have more coercive power? Sino ang mas binding, coercive power? Which of the two will have more coercive power? Well, definitely it will be the formal sanctions because it is written in a document wherein you really need to follow. What are you going to follow? Well, rules, regulations, laws. No? Here you cannot see that. Just like in informal social control, I told you earlier that the people close to you will bear an influence in the development of your personality and in your character. Whether you follow that or not, there is no formal sanction that will be imposed on you for the deviance that you have committed or for the violation that you have committed. Okay, this is another classification. And the last classification is what we call internal sanctions. And of course, external sanctions. Now, this is the last topic for Unit 3, or what we call Chapter 3, internal sanctions. Now, if we relate this to deviance, no? Internal sanction meaning if you committed a violation or you committed a deviance that we call, later on, di ba, nakagawa ka ng kasalanan, so deviance, you are delinquent, you are a violator, no? Violation, or we call that transgression. Transgression. Now, if you have done a violation, if you have done a transgression, if you have committed a deviance, at the back of your mind, no, at the back of your mind, you know yet that you did something wrong, no? So there is that small voice somewhere in your mind or in your head which says, oh, you have hurt somebody, you have done something wrong, and do not do that again. And what does that voice say? That voice will say that the action or the deviance that you committed will definitely not be acceptable or desirable in society. And that voice would come from what we call conscience, from your conscience. Supposing you have cheated, no? For example, you have cheated during examinations, no? Cheated during exams. You may be happy with the results, but at the back of your mind, a voice would tell you that you passed the examination or you did very good in the exams, but it is the cause of your dishonesty that created your good grades or good performance, for instance. No? That one is what we call internal. It would come from the author or the actor of the deviance, no? Mismong siya ang magsasabi na mali yung ginawa niya. So internal sanction. The sanction would come from within the individual himself, saying that his behavior or his deviance has been committed for the purpose of violating a law, a rule, or a regulation. External, these are sanctions, no? Because external, these are sanctions imposed by who? Well, by other people. Of course, by other people, by entities, by organizations, no? Organizations like schools, universities, colleges, and even most common would be the government. No, the government would impose external sanctions because you have violated the law. Now, in your book, there is also a discussion on the importance of sanctions. You just have to read that and memorize some of them. No? I'd like you to read the importance of sanctions. Read the importance of sanctions. Because this is the end of my discussion of Unit 3. No, Unit 3. Now, your assignment would be this. You have to do activity sheet 3. number 3. No? You do activity sheet number 3, and if you will notice, Roman numeral number 1 would require the spelling and the meaning of certain words. Now you take this down. The first word would be surreptitious. Surreptitious. Did you get that? The second would be germane. Germane. Get that? Germane. The third would be archaic. Archaic. Archaic, meaning old. The fourth would be disparage. 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 And number 5 would be astonish. 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 Okay, that is all for part 1. We will proceed with part 2 later on. But before I end my lecture for today in CVN, I'd like to inform you that your midterm examination will be November 6, 2021 at 9 o'clock in the morning. No? I repeat, your midterm examination in CVN would be November 6, 2021. It's a Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning. Or is that too early for you people? Would you like it to be at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock? Well, you let me know in our group chat if you prefer the 9 o'clock or the 10 o'clock schedule. No? So if you will notice, November 6 is a Saturday. We will not be meeting in NSTP 1 for that day because of your midterm examination in CVN. Now, my examination is of course in person, meaning you have to come to school and bring your examination booklets. The booklets are, you can purchase that inside the classroom already once you will take the midterm examination, or you may go to the registrar's office and buy examination booklets. No? So my examinations are all in person, meaning you have to come to school and take the examinations. No, it's not online, but it will be in person. You will be assigned certain rooms so that there will be the observance of what we call health protocols. No? So I repeat, your midterm examination is November 6. You let me know if your preference is to take it at 9 o'clock or at 10 o'clock. If you say in your group chat, in our group chat, that it will be 9 o'clock, then it will proceed at 9 o'clock. If not, if you say that you prefer 10 o'clock, then we will go on with the 10 o'clock schedule. And the examination is simultaneously done, meaning that is the only schedule for Block A and Block B. No? If I say 10 o'clock, 10 to 12, all of you should take the examination by that time. Okay? So that is one. The second requirement is that you need to submit on that day your module in grammar. No? Complete with your answers because I have to check those. And we'll be wrapping up with a discussion on English grammar rules by next week. Okay, so you submit your grammar module also during the midterm examination. Okay, that is all for part 1. We'll proceed with part 2 later. Ilang minutes?